Top sound and strong this morning. A lot of questions on my mind. Yes, humorous way. Do we care? Do we worry about the way this world is going? About the million things I see. Do we dream of another world somewhere over the sky? Do we want to keep surviving, surviving? What about music? What about children? What about nature's quest to stay alive? Stay alive. We must listen, we must listen. Stay alive. We must share, we must share. For a while, what must say? What must stay where is mine? Stay where is mine? Ain't now every action say every day. No one wants to be weak. Wants to prize for the strong. Though it's been on grave or a blood. I'm right, we say I'm right. If history has taught us no lessons, is that we need to teach our children. Will the rebel be the strongest? What about music? What about children? What about steps and poverty? Stay alive, we must listen, we must listen. Stay alive, we must share, we must share. For a while, what must say, what must stay where is mine, stay where is mine. Wasn't really matter who you are. Doesn't really matter where you're from. Doesn't really matter what you believe. What about music? What about you? What about nature's quest to stay alive? What about music? What about children? What about air steps and poverty? Stay alive, we must listen, we must listen. Stay alive, we must share, we must share. For a while, we must say, we must stay where it's mine. It's possible where it's mine. It's all right. Time to go into gear. Mova, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, Isaac. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening to all of our listeners. It's good to be back on the show after 2 weeks absence.
Yeah. Sometimes you take a break, right? A lot of things come up. You can't prevent, but it's wonderful to be back here.
It is. It
Um,
is.
to the audience, I can't show my face today. It's a horrible face right now. So we beg your indulgence. The focus will be on Mulbar. So we'll see what's happening this week that we can touch on. But Mulbar, the top of the week, um, I believe it was Mr. Cummings' speech.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a real tough talking speech. He laid out a lot of stuff. What are your thoughts on the speech?
Well, I mean, in terms of trying to rally his supporters, uh, I mean, he's spoken a language that appeals to them. So that's something, I picked from it. Uh, but generally, he failed again to be a leader. I mean, he doesn't want to take responsibility for his actions and the things he's doing and how he's running the country. He's sort of trying to find a scapegoat like all other citizens do. They feel they are never
Wait,
responsible for.
are you talking about we are speech or Cummings' speech?
Oh, I'm talking about real speech right now. I thought that's what you asked. I mean, I hope I didn't miss it.
Damn, like you're really focused on we are speech. But anyway, continue. I just
If you want, we can go back to Mr. Cummings' speech and then
I
come to
just
real speech.
I just want to get it clear so people understand because it seems like you
Oh,
are channeling we are right now. So continue with we are. Let people just understand that you are talking about we are's
yes,
speech at the program, right?
yes. I'm talking about Josh Ria's speech at
Right, because
the
there were two speeches
50th
this week.
anniversary. Yes.
One was a speech mixed with a prelude to a song, and the other one was a
Mhm.
real speech. So continue with George Weah's speech, and then we can.
Yeah, I mean, so, but as I was saying, President Weah again displayed his lack of responsibility with the power that Liberians have given him. Uh, I don't know. He's so obsessed, like all other sedition, with the notion that people are calling for sanction, people are doing this, people are doing that, and that's why his government is not functioning. I mean, it's not acceptable to say it like that in one instance, and then in the next instance, he wants to make it look like his government is the best government since the founding of Liberia. I mean, that's a huge contradiction. I mean, that's something I identified, and it's unfortunate. First of all, when he steals public money and his officials steal public money, he does not punish them for what they do or make sure he's accountable with the power that he has. He should expect that there will be repercussions. Those things go hand in hand. If we don't want to be beaten, I mean, unfortunately, our people can beat criminals or rogues. There's high mob violence in Liberia. If you don't want to be beaten by the people, don't steal. If you don't want sanctions, don't support the mysterious disappearances of people or treat mysterious disappearances and deaths recklessly as you do. I mean, try to be a responsible person. For once, own up to your actions, own up to your deeds. You can blame everybody else, and then it's like you're pointing all the five fingers at everyone. I mean, then what comes back at you? What are you doing? So, I mean, for me, the president raised a lot of questions in my mind about, again, his leadership. Unfortunately, that's like 5 years after serving as president. At this stage, I expected Mr. Weah to be taking on, the responsibility with more pride, owning up to the things he has done wrong, and again, try to herald his good. But often he wants the praises, he doesn't want to be taking the backlash. But if you just go back to a few years ago, it was the same George Weah that had his boys all over the city trying to pin the UP-led government black and did all that they could. I mean, they too were calling for sanction everywhere. They too were calling for Madam Salif to be jailed. They were calling for the war crimes code. I mean, nobody was crying all over the place. Madam Salih wasn't everywhere crying. How can you now try to paint a whole different picture when you are, sitting in the seat? That's unfortunate, and for me, it's the highest degree of irresponsibility any president can show. I mean, if that comes from the ordinary citizens, it will make some sense, because out of partisan zealotry, they will be saying the things they say. But when you are president, you can't do that. That's irresponsible on your part. You can't be crying like a baby. The job is not for kids. People will not support you. I don't support you. I mean, nobody will come and just go to Mr. Weah or be all behind him and sing his praises. That's unacceptable. People are suffering. People are dying. I
And
mean,
that's the key thing that he doesn't realize, and that's reflected in his demeanor, his posture, his output, his activities that he indulges in. And the Pakuyi strong thing is just fooling him. The sycophants are just taking him towards the edge consistently with their sycophancy, their sweet talk, their genuflections towards him, making him think that everything is so great. I don't know if you listened to the brief interview he had with one reporter about the situation with, supposedly corruption at agriculture and water and sewer. And he's just seems oblivious, or he just a good liar, where he said nothing has come to his office about those issues. As president, if there is corruption in your government and it doesn't come across to you, then what are you doing? What is your purpose? How are you concerned about your people if every issue is not, especially when it comes to corruption, an issue that the US government officials have highlighted consistently over time, from the special representative, from the office of the US president to the bicentennial, to Linda Greenfield, to the US ambassador himself, and to other officials before that, Chris Smith and other people have referenced. And you still take it for a joke. You're not recognizing any of those. The issues that are prevailing, the road fund, other issues of importance to the country, you don't touch on it. But your primary thing is in your speech to kind of lay out your next song, I believe, with all the TIONS trying to rhyme that sometimes don't even relate. So it's just really sad where our country is. Really, really necessary for our people to get some kind of relief. But it is also important for them to wake up to understand that, where we are now, just having been a superstar is not enough. George Weah is a bona fide superstar, world superstar. You can't take that from him. But in terms of running a wheeler market right now, called Liberia, he has no ability to do that. And that's where people have to draw the line and understand that if they want a future for the country, they want a future for their children, they want a future for themselves, they got to really think hard about what their choices are for 2023. Because if they make the wrong decision, we keep spiraling in a negative direction, So, it's not about whether we love George Weah or not. Like somebody has said, it's about the fact that we love Liberia more. And in order for us to represent Liberia well, to project that image out there, to do some of the basic things, clean up the country. I mean, how can that be so difficult? 2 administrations now. Yeah, we complain about Mirabro using the power of the presidency because he has Salif support and abusing people to clean the country. But looking back now, people were excited that Mirabro helped to clean the country. They even brought Mirabro back. What happened with that relationship? Was it because you were trying to get some results? No, we can't give her the credit. At some point, people got to let the country rise above their personal ego or their personal interests. It got to be what's best for the country. Let's do what we can do to make this thing happen. every little program for the people fails. The COVID funds, the Ebola stuff, it's like our country cannot execute one simple project effectively to, true fruition for the benefit of our people. So those are things that the common people have to look at. What social services are they being rendered out of the social contract, where the people who are negotiating contracts, the people who are receiving all taxes, the people who are making all the major decisions, what are they doing for them? Those are the kind of thoughts that we should try to sensitize our people towards, to enable them to make a decision come 2023. So yeah, that's my thought on George Weah's speech. He needs to do a lot more. He needs to recognize where he is. He probably doesn't realize he's president of a country. He probably just thinks he's president of CDC. But he has to wake up. But even the seditionists themselves, they are unhappy. Seditionists everywhere, US, Europe, Liberia, many of them feel they are strangers that are in the government. They have been disenfranchised. And they want something. They want something to happen, something different. I don't know if you saw Lester Tenney's presentation. It's live.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. I mean, that's Lester's second major statement that will make them probably try to do something. The first time when we were doing appointments and they hadn't appointed him and some other people, he made a lot of noise. They made his appointment to NOCAL, pacify him, and this and other things. So he resigned from NOCAL now. So I want to see how they will pacify him this time, and whether he will stand by his word. So, it's just up to them. But at the end of the day, the country needs to be run properly. It needs to be run better. And we as president has to be more conscious of what's happening, what his people are desiring, and what he wants, because we want a better country, not only just about elections and everything, but a better lives for the people. So we can transition on to your thoughts on Mr. Cummings' speech.
Yeah, I mean, okay, but I mean that for me, that was the highlight of the week. Mr. Cummings' speech was very pointed, particularly talking about the conduct of the census that has now been postponed and delayed by the Weah-led government. The reason behind the delay of census makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Absolutely no sense. What the government is telling us, Isaac, is that since the funding of this country, we just started experiencing rainy season in the last 3 months. And that's the logic. They try to put that since Liberia was funded, we have never had rainy season. Just started falling last month. Or what they're telling us is that when it is election time and there's rainy season, we will postpone the election until we have dry season. Because during that period, the roads will be impassable. There'll be no way to reach the people. I read a quote once that said, during election time, African governments can do everything to ensure that a ballot box reach every town, every village, every hamlet, literally every kitchen. But when they get elected, they do not go to those places. And that is what our legislature, that is what Mr. Weah has displayed to the Liberian people. And Mr. Cummings' lamentation, that's like a man standing up for the country, for his people, for posterity. Mr. Cummings' speech goes beyond politics. This is about Liberia. I mean, I don't think Liberians fully understand the importance of a general census. The reason why that is inscribed in Article 39 of our Constitution, mandating the legislature to cause a census every 10 years, are enormous. Prominent amongst the reasons why we should have a census and it should never be delayed, I one. It serves as the basis for equitable representation in our legislature, in government, in other places. The census lays the bedrock for that, for equitable representation. It also helps us to, deal with resource distribution or allocation. So even when we make our national budget, we use the census as a basis to allot resources to various sectors, to various groups, to resource trapped areas or places that need urgent attention. The census informs us. The census protects basically our basic rights. It helps us to deal with housing. The way we are building houses in Grand Creek County where there are people, there are no Liberians or few Liberians, just a handful of people. Look, the census should be able to inform Mr. Weir as to where there is population density that needs more housing or where people are struggling with housing. That is some of the importance of what census does. And the census also help us with education. It determines where we should build the next high school, where we should build the next university, and more importantly, to bring it down to the Liberian people understanding, it is census that informs the Liberian government to in the legislature. As for the senators, that's a fixed number. It's basically 2 from every county. And insofar as we have 15 counties, we are always going to have 30 senators. But for the House of Representatives, it will increase or decrease based on the number of people we have in the country. Now, when you do not conduct a census, how will the National Elections Commission get to know how to delineate the districts? Because the legislature is supposed to use the data from the census to say, okay, we need to have additional 50 seats. I'm just making the numbers up, right? To have additional 50 seats.
No, but
and then when they make that determination, they then give that instruction to the National Election.
Yeah, let's give them exact information. Like you reference, Article 39 is what initially talks about the census. But then in Article 80 of the Constitution is written there clearly, Article 80D, each constituency shall have an approximately equal population of 20,000.
For our democracy. Let me let you come in.
Yeah. So what I was saying is you laid the groundwork about the need for the census in Article 39 of the Constitution. But specifically in Article 80, they also state a couple of other purposes of the census, right? It has to do with the constituency as the electoral districts are set up. It says each constituency shall have an approximately equal population of 20,000 or such number of citizens as the legislature shall prescribe in keeping with population growth and movements as reviewed by our national census, provided that the total number of electoral constituencies in the Republic should not exceed 100. So we are at 73 right now. So if the legislature had the availability of a census that could one way or the other say, look, the way our people distributed, it's better to make the districts, reduce the number of districts. I'm giving an extreme example. Reduce the number of districts to 70 and have 40,000 in each district than to have 73 districts with 30,000. Or they could flip the script and say, based on the increase in our population, the number of new voters, the number of people currently in the country, we actually need 80, precincts with 30,000 people. And that, again, will be the responsibility of the legislature to ensure that NEC complies with that, right? And then the whole redistricting in terms of where the population, the precincts and the different voting groups should be. The NEC has to determine that. So based on the population, they should afford the maximum amount of access for people to be able to go and vote. Because if they don't do that, and a lot of people have difficulties in getting to the voting hall, the voter turnout will be low again. And in some cases, based on how NEC sees where the numbers are or how they get influenced, they can decide where to put certain precincts. And if they put a precinct in an area that is predominant towards one group and where the other group exists, they limit the access to a precinct, that could be trouble. So all of these things are important. And then the simple thing, like recently when because I remember back in December 2020, I believe, they were distributing some COVID stuff. And there were some areas that got nothing at all. So if there was serious census information that they could utilize and analyze and lay out where the population was, who needed what in what quantities, it would have been effective. But we know some people are trying to steal stuff anyway. So that stuff just does not get to the people. So all of these things stress the importance of the census. So the last factor I want to touch on is that if you have a certain number of people that don't reach to that level of having legislative representation and the area is bare and you have a representative from that area, that person is not representing the people. They're just representing that land area. And that is not what the democracy is about. The democracy is about people representation. So we have to make sure that this census is effected before, we come towards elections. So I don't know what new time frame they have set. I don't know whether it's March. I don't know whether that's adequate for them to complete the census, for them to do the redistricting, for them to really set the threshold of the population for each district. So all of those things, they have to kind of work backwards in time and set up a good plan and bring to the Liberian people and convince the Liberian people. But just arbitrarily changing dates without being specific about what they are going to do, it just takes away from, the direction we should be going in terms of really strengthening our democracy and entrenching the democratic values in our country. Absolutely. And that was just the first part of Mr. Cummings' speech.
Yeah, I mean, before we move on to the next thing, in the very article 80E, where it talks about the legislature reapportioning the districts, you know that it would take a legislative vote, Isaac, to determine the number of people that should be in every district. And
they got to go into session. They have to go into session.
And when the census is conducted, it's not that you just go in the street or in the country, get all the data, and it is compiled within a week or so. It takes the legis months. In fact, it takes them years to analyze the census. You cannot give, a year's job to Legis with underfunding problem already in the country and with Legis itself and underfunding problem with the National Elections Commission. You expect Legis to conduct the census, get all the data, compile it, analyze it, make a report to the legislature from March, April, May, June, July. We'll be talking about voter registration. I mean, it makes no logical. There's no logic behind us accepting it. At this time, this is a constitutional violation, Isaac. There's no if or N about it. There's no way you can talk about it. And unfortunately, these people will flout the laws under Mr. Weah. And you listen. You even cited his interview he had where he said he knows nothing about the corruption in his government. It's so unfortunate. What kind of election are we going to have? This is the foundation for the CDC and George Weah to rig the election. This is also the foundation for them to deny a certain group of Liberians from a certain place from participating in our democracy. This is not only a constitutional violation, this is a threat to our very existence as a country and people. But we can move on to the next topic in this speech.
No, but just to close it, you are absolutely right. It will be an unconstitutional legislature so technically an unconstitutional government. And what does that mean? That means they don't have the authority or mandate to govern the country. So they really have to think about it. It's good that it's been called in question early, and that they have time now to think about it and try to make a move in the right direction. So yeah. So some of the other news happening. I know on the road fund has been an issue. They managed to get a vote in the Senate to say that they actually pass into law, a recast budget that reflected the reallocation of the funding, the road fund money, to be used by the Ministry of Finance for whatever means. But that still violates the law. The Road Fund Act was not there. That fund was not there to just be reappropriated. And like Yombly said, they should be criminally liable, for those actions. And they have not shown any clear documentation where the Senate met. They discussed the recast budget with a focus on reallocating that 24 million that was supposed to go to the road fund, and taking away whatever amount that they said they use in 2 different years, not 1 year. And that's the thing. They try to focus on a piece of the entire situation, and they leave out other portions of the situation, which is very unfair to the Liberian people who don't really understand what is going on with the road fund. So it's, 2018 to 2019, 2019 to 2020, where that road fund issue is very important. And our people need to really, really look at it and not take it for a joke, So I don't know if you read Yombly's article on it, her post, but she was very clear. And I don't think there's consensus among the legislators or the senators that they actually approve a recast budget that they fully deliberated on with regards to.
But Isaac, I'm not cutting you out, right? But before you go on there, do you recall Samuel Twer stated on Spoon FM, Spoon TV, that he got a verbal or authorization, and he spoke?
Yes, that's what he said. I was trying to find a clip, but I haven't been able to find the clip. But that's what he said. He said he spoke with a few legislators and got their okay or their approval.
Yeah, and specifically he mentioned the Senate pro tempore.
The pro tem and the speaker.
Sorry, see. So now, how can you say the Senate or the legislature approved the redirection of funds from the road fund when the Minister of Finance is on record for stating that he got verbal approval from the Senate pro tempore and the Senate leadership? I mean, that contradicts what the Minister of Finance said. But because the Senate, I have said times about number, it's a ballless Senate, the guys are careless. They do not care about their integrity, about the name. I mean, they have no regard for the sacredness of that hallowed legislature. That legislature should form the bedrock of our existing democracy. They should check. And I mean, they are responsible for the general check and balance in government. Even with the judiciary, they have a noble responsibility to the people of Liberia. But see what they have done. They have kicked their responsibility to the mud. So packet change. Did you read the leaked information that each senator got $25,000 as kickbacks to not take action on the road fund, and the people from the House of Representatives got $16,000? I mean, that's how these people do it. They bullshit our country. How can one man, the man who is accused of doing an illegal thing, clearly state on record that he did not get a full Senate approval, right? In one instance, and then in the next instance, that very Senate comes and takes a vote and say, yeah, we give the approval. So I was like, Does it make any sense? Is there any reasoning behind this except for the mere fact that our legislature is practically useless? That the legislature is not fighting for the soul of our country, but they are fighting for themselves and lining their pockets at the detriment of the ordinary Liberian people? It is this same legislature that is crying that because roads are impassable during the rainy season, we should not have a census. But it is this very legislature that is conniving, collaborating, and coordinating with Mr. Weah, Samuel Twe, and the rest of the CDC government officials to siphon public resources, to violate the Liberian laws, and make sure that millions of dollars go unaccounted for. Where's the record to show how many dollars in total amount Samuel Twe spent to pay people's salaries? How many percent salary did Samuel Twe pay? How can Samuel Twe say in one instance that he spoke to people via phone or in fact in the corridor and met people and told them this is what will happen? And then that same group of people come together and say, oh, in fact, we authorize the man to redirect the fund. Look, I say, what do these people take us for?
Fools. It's clear. You know, I mean, it's sad that we go through what we go through simply because our leaders have no respect for the people they are leading, and they will do these things consistently. There's no transparency. This government cannot show you its expenditures. It will not give you any detailed breakdown. You know, you look at the budget, it makes no sense. Look, let me just share, see if I can share a picture of the national budget for 2022, where you look at where George Weah's salary was, and then for the prior year. But for this year, there's no line item. Why are they hiding the president budget? What sense does it make? Is the president making $494,000 or whatever amount of money? That's what you're paying him, right? At least if you were serious, you will have some kind of justification for why you're doing what you're doing. But consistently, they don't let me see, office of the president. I'm doing a search right now.
I mean, why are you doing that? The mere reason why they are hiding the president's salary and budget is that we have put our people under the notion that he was rich, he had money, and he was not coming to government to steal, right? But unfortunately, his salary is so high, and they know it will not make sense to show.
And that means it's illegal. That means
yes,
it's illegal. Okay, so let's share this information with people just so they can see. So this is the office of the president. You can see the screen?
yes, I can see it.
This is the office of the president, right? This is the top line item here for economic classification. Compensation of employees. Okay? So in 2021, the actual compensation for employees in the office of the president, all of them were $374,844. In 2022, you see the zero?
Yeah.
So are they saying everybody work free? But look at use of goods and services. It was $2,875,000 in 2020 to 2021. Now it's going to nearly $5 million, $4,978,000. Grants. Now the president should be giving people money, right? From $104,000 last fiscal year, this year is 475,000. So you see what it jumped from 3.354 million to 5.453 million. That's an increase of 2,100,000 with no explanation. Why? That election money, that benefit, what is it? So the lack of transparency in the government to even break down its own budget, to share the information with the people is amazing. It really is amazing, you know. And usually, you know, in these budgets, they separate elected officer salary. You see that legislature right here?
Mm-hmm.
You see compensation of employees for the House of Representatives. Civil servants, 2,440,000 in 2021. For some reason now, is $9 million. Will those civil servants actually get that money? So what sense did it make? You want to say legislator, the elected officials did not get paid in 2020, 2021? But now, for this budget year, they're getting 7.5 million. So the whole reporting system is like they're just fingering it here and there to make things work for them. So even if we look at the where is that? This is the recast budget from 2019, 2020 that they keep talking about. I don't see anything here on road fund. When I do a search for road, that only broadcasting, because road is spelled in broadcasting. You can't find anything else. I mean, there is no justification for the level of corruption and rampant stealing that is going on in this government, and it's really, really sad. Okay, it's really sad. Ministry of Public Works, this their breakdown here. I don't know what changed. This is the recast budget. All right, this was the revised appropriation. So not much change. And it's something that we as a people have to go through consistently. You see here, 7 million. And then it became to 16 million. So where is that difference? Where did they put this money? There's no understanding. None at all. But our people absorb all of this. At some point, the bubble will burst. And they will get tired and say, my people, you'll stop abusing us. But, you know, close up on that topic.
I mean, again, President Weah shows every day by his actions and inactions that he does not care about Liberia. He does not care about the Liberian people. And nothing we will say or do that will make him to care. And so far as he's getting kickbacks and he's well taken care of, and he can live large and in extravagance, and his buildings can go up, we all can just, the rest of the people, Liberian people, can practically go to hell because it means nothing to him. We are suffering and struggling in this country, but all they do day in and out is to violate the laws, siphon public resources, and more than any other thing, this government has stolen from the Liberian people more than any other government. And quite annoyingly, they have done it more deliberately than any other government. They have been more audacious about it. They have done it without any remorse. They do not care how we feel. They do not care how people are dying and struggling because of their actions. All they do is to be scapegoating and finding people they can use as excuses for their evil and wicked actions against our people. This is unacceptable. But one day, I'm quite aware, and I believe our people will get tired. They will decide to stand up for themselves. They will decide to stand up for their country. This is how Liberia came down crumbling in 1980, because a certain group of people felt that they were the laws unto themselves, that they owed no accountability to anybody, that they could do anything. They could kill people, they could hurt people, they could take public money, live large, and enjoy while the rest of the country suffers. And our people one day got mad, and we all know what happened in our history. George Weah does not immediately halt what he's doing. It will be one day our people will get tired, and they will tell Mr. Weah that they're not stupid. The government may be taking our people to be stupid and timid and weak, but they are not. They are pushing our people, but there will be a stage where our people will reach and they will not care. Whether you have all the tear gas canisters, and you can bring all the anti-rioting gears, it will not mean anything, because the people will be desperate and they will be fighting for the soul of their nation, for their own lives. I mean, this is despicable and it is unacceptable. Weah was not elected to keep leeching on us. All the millions he made and all the monies they've won and about, why can't he try to just do the right thing for the people? Again, Mr. Weah owes no responsibility to us. None of his children, Isaac, by the way, I want our people to know, none of George Weah's children is a Liberian citizen. They are all citizens of different countries. The son of our president plays for another country. That's to tell you how Weah clearly does not care about Liberia and Liberians. I said, let me leave it at that.
Yeah. So were you able to listen to the presentation by
to be able to do so? Let's look at
Clarence Moniba? I think that's something we need to share with people. And then I will give my opinion on what I thought about it. Let me share the screen and we can play it for people to see. Okay. It's a short video.
Liberians. We always say that we want to build our country, we want to develop our country. Yet we don't do the simple things that's needed to be able to do so. Let's look at agriculture, for example. Cocoa, tomatoes, onions, things that we can easily grow in this country. Easily grow. We import from Cote d'Ivoire. Let's look at pepper. We import from Guinea and Cote d'Ivoire. Peanuts, we import from Guinea. We also go as far as Togo to import things such as potatoes. Let's even look at the staple food of rice, something that every single day Liberian men say he has to eat. We spend over $200 million every single year importing from places such as China, Indonesia, Japan, and Thailand. How are we going to build our own country? Imagine spending $200 million not to import rice, but to build our agriculture sector, to hire farmers, to hire Liberians, to be able to cultivate our land so that we can have food security in this country. There's no reason why every school in this country shouldn't have a small farm or a small garden. There's no reason why every high school student shouldn't have the technical and vocational training to be able to cultivate their land. And there's no reason why every county in this country should not have the ability to help with the food security in this country. There's no reason why we should be importing things such as pepper, fruits, rice. These are things that we have to be able to change. We have to change our mindset in how we say we want to build this country. We have the people. We have the talent. We have the land. And we have the weather. The question now is, are we going to have the mindset to do so? And we don't need government to come tell us to grow farm. We don't need government to tell schools to do so, to tell individuals to do so. We have to be able to grow what we eat.
So, as much as I loved what Dr. Monabach presented, the last part is where I sincerely disagree with him. Um, the government is extremely important. You can't say we don't need government in this process. Um, the government has to facilitate. The government has to regulate. The government has to invest in the people. The government has to help with research, with training, education. Schools cannot by themselves implement these kind of agricultural systems that will get us to the level of production that we expect. So it's important that he and other folks who want this to happen recognize some of those other components of the agriculture sector that will require it to work effectively. There's significant amounts of money being put in the agriculture sector in Liberia, and it will be important for us to be able to understand how those programs and projects are doing. They got multiples of them over time. I remember at the initial transition from the Ellen government to the WEA government, we had a couple of transition discussions at the Ministry of Agriculture. And the presentation, unfortunately, was very poor. Again, it was not even transparent too. You couldn't tell what they were doing with the different programs. And it seemed like this government just fell right into the trap and just went right along with what they were doing, just replacing persons, but not the processes, the procedures, the policies to be effective and to make an impact for our people. So it just seems like there's a deteriorating kind of situation that needs to be reversed. And that's the lowest hanging fruit in terms of development that we have, the agriculture sector. We already have a significant portion of our population, and the strongest people in our population are women who are involved in agriculture. For us to uplift that particular sector should not be that difficult. It should be an infusion of technology, an infusion of some level of mechanization. It doesn't have to be fully mechanized. A market needs to be established where the government is a major buyer for all its programs. It will buy Liberian. They're feeding the soldiers, feeding the police. Every time they're giving rice, the schools feeding program, all of them should feed into the Liberian, purchasing Liberian stuff. And there are certain comparative advantages we have. Like he said, each county can specialize into something or a few products that they can focus on. We are not that densely populated except for Monserrado. Most of the other counties, the land space is vast. We can be able to decentralize our agricultural efforts. We can be able to include the provision of clean drinking water using borehole wells. Using solar energy, we can provide communal electricity. We can be able to accelerate the production of food, and using shared services when it comes to huge equipment, clearing land, tilling the land, even harvesting, will be able to effectively elevate our whole agricultural system. But it takes planning and it takes action. It takes a will. Like you said, we got to have that mindset. And it's about training our people to be able to move in that direction. So hopefully, again, we can just be hopeful at this point, because there's no confidence or no surety that we can entrust in this we are government to do what they need to do. But we know that Mr. Cummings is focused on doing these things, the good governance, the boosting the agriculture, the creating jobs, the improving our infrastructure, the healthcare, the education, the empowerment of women and our young people, which are the bedrock of this country. Those things need to happen, and Mr. Cummings is really, really focused on those things. That's what his agenda is kind of focused on, and we just hope that those things will come to fruition for him. So I see Omaba is coming back. We into an hour now, so we should be wrapping up soon. So Mova, I know you
Yeah,
didn't miss much. But what do you have to say on the whole agriculture piece?
I mean, first off, I want to say thanks to Mr. Monima there. I mean, his points were great, and I agree with him to a large extent. Again, like you disagree with him, I want to disagree with him on the issue of government not, playing a role. Look, where we find ourselves, I want you to know that we are a struggling people. Our country does not have the kind of economy where private citizens have been empowered long enough, where they have millions of dollars, they can be able to form corporations and cooperatives, and to be able to underwrite the cost of bringing machinery and equipment to support their farming. Bulk of our farmers are subsistence farmers, and they do uh, cultivation every year. They move from one location to the next location, from one location to the next location. You don't expect people who are basically living way at the bottom of the economic chain to afford to be able to supply an entire country. It is the government that needs to redirect its focus. Most of the millions we spend on agriculture often goes towards overhead and workshops here and there. If we were actually taking the millions we've put in agriculture since Madam Salih's government onto this purple government, if we were actually going into the field and training the people and providing equipment for them, as I mentioned, you provide the necessary equipment. Say in Lofa County, you have 3 tractors, 4 different kinds of machines, and say, okay, every month or in 5 months, we'll operate from Zozo or from Salai to Zozo, from Zozo to Vonjaman to Foya to Kolahun. I mean, just helping farmers open large plots of land, give these people money to be able to buy crops and plant the crops, provide the enabling environment. Look, if they don't have capital, how are they going to invest into the farms? How are they going to produce beyond just what they can eat? Because practically all of our farmers normally just produce what they can eat from hand to mouth, sort of. That's what happening around the country. You don't expect people like that to be able to compete with the Ghanaians or the Ivorians or the Guineans. In those countries, their governments have provided investment platforms for them. They have provided loan schemes for them. They have machinery that can be, rented at very cheap prices. Look, even if the government was to provide a machine to the farmers and say, okay, you know what? We provide the machines for you. We make the farms for you. We provide the platform or loan scheme for you. When you have, the products from the farm, we help you to bring it to the market. We help you to sell the product, and we get 25%, and the rest of it goes to you. I mean, you will be empowering people. There are a lot of things that can be done to empower our Liberian farmers, to produce beyond just eating, because most of the food our people producing cannot even feed their families properly. So the little one that comes to the market, there are even no roads to bring the goods to the market or to the consumers. So you see, there are a lot of challenges, Dr. Monema, that need to be addressed, and those things can only properly, adequately, readily be addressed by the government of the Republic of Liberia. So there's a two-way street to this. It is the Liberian people and the government, both on different sides, very important to one another. But if we are going to change agriculture, if we are going to be exporting our goods and services, goods from our farms, then we need to empower our people, put money, raw cash into their hands. We should do that. Put raw cash into their hands. What if we say every budget year, the $3, $4, $5 million Joshua has in the budget? Let's take, look. $1 million can run the president's office. Where does he go? What does he really have to do? Or even something other than that can run the president's office. Let's take $4 million from the president's budget and redirect it to Lofa County. Say $1 million goes to Lofa County, $1 million goes to Nima County, $1 million goes to Bond County, and $1 million goes to Margibi County. Those are largely agricultural-based counties, right? And those $1 million, you buy tractors for these people, and you open 10 large farms, and you put together 10 farming groups. Each large farm will have at least 10 persons running it. And you give those people $100,000. Look, they can do a lot. Because we have the manpower, we have the resources. All these Zogos are in Monrovia doing nothing. If you produce, if you have farms all over the country, and they can take these Zogos and train them and carry them on these farms, they can make ends meet, provide little housing for them. One thing that we are blessed with in Liberia is that we have very fertile land, and then living in the hinterland is less challenging as compared to living in the urban areas or in Monrovia. So these Zogos are here; their energies are wasting. We have so many young people in Monrovia who are doing nothing; they have no employment whatsoever. You take them on these farms, and you provide incentives for them, and pay them small amounts. They can work on these farms, and then you provide employment opportunity for our people. But again, the government is not thinking beyond, just every day, Mr. Weah wake up and he dance buga, or he does something unacceptable, or he runs away from his responsibilities. That's all the government keeps doing. You cannot have the people taking the huge chunk of our money and throwing small amount in the agriculture sector. That's what they do. They chunk very small amount there, and that small amount does not even reach to the actual people who need it. It stays right in the Ministry of Agriculture. They have workshops, pay people to go all over the country. How many Liberian farmers have we sent to China to go through trainings? How many? How many Liberian farmers can access 50,000 United States dollars? So look, there are a lot of questions to answer. There are a lot of things that could be done. And that's what Mr. Cummings says. We have to take away the unnecessary bureaucracy. We have bureaucracy in everything, and it's not benefiting us. It has never benefited us. These bureaucracies only create the enabling environment for corruption and public stealing to grow, to live, to germinate, to create more roots. That's all the bureaucracies in all these ministries and agencies have done. Let's make the processes simple. You create simple processes for our people, and they will thrive. They will make money. Our farmers are not lazy. These people go through a lot just to make their farms every year. Give them small money. Give them the right training. Instead of taking $500,000 to make one trip to go to Israel, let's send 10 farmers to China, train them into how to produce rice, which is our staple. 10 farmers. When they come back to Liberia, provide those 10 farmers $1 million. Provide 10 tractors. Let's see how they can put their knowledge to use. Look, it has to be gradual. This is not something that's a quick fix, right? We are not expecting the government to do everything one day, but you can start gradually. When you produce the first 2, 3, 4, 5 millionaires from farming, those 3, 4, 5 millionaires will, by extension, be able to drag others along. Because when you make those millionaires will be working hard. They want to make more millions. They too have to make other millionaires because they will want people to buy their products and produce. Look, but you cannot fix agriculture in Liberia without the involvement of the government. There is no way it can happen. The kind of economy we have and our people who are into the agricultural sector, they don't have money. You need to put money.
And that's a fact. Capital is important. You hit it on the nail on the head. Capital is extremely important to the process. Government regulation, government input, government influence, government policies are all necessary. We thank, Dr. Clarence Moniba for his Wonderful presentation in terms of the direction we need to go, the products that we actually can actually grow, and the mindset we need to build towards the agriculture sector. But the government's influence is necessary. It will not happen if we don't get that kind of participation and collaboration, especially if it's an agriculture kind of program where we want the regular people to benefit, not just concessions where they will work as basically slaves to enrich some kind of foreign direct investment. So we have to change that dynamic. We have to focus. We can see what the whole concession thing with Firestone did for many of our people. We've seen some of the other oil palm concessions and stuff. So the generation of wealth for Liberians is not viable under those kind of arrangements, and we need to shift that dynamic with a new focus on agriculture geared towards sustainability, food security, Liberian empowerment, and Liberian enrichment. If we can have that mindset that we're not counting the potential of other people to get rich, to worry whether they will use it for political activities or not, we can really move this country forward. So I think for us, what other thoughts you have today, Morba? Before
I mean, I think we've practically exhausted the very key things.
right, any other hot news that were in the town that you want to talk about? Any other hot news?
Well, well, the hard news is that Nigerians are as funny as this may sound, right? So, some Nigerians posted a video of our president dancing the Buka dance. I'll talk about the rain and how it's affecting our people, right?
Right.
But and Nigerians were crying that, in fact, as for Liberia, we are blessed that we have a young person. Unlike them, it is normally the ancestors that they elect as presidents. None of that. I mean, they are lamenting the fact that their presidents cannot dance the Buga dance or they will fall off, and they are proud of us Liberians. I mean, but they don't know that our president is practically dancing while we are dying. Our people are
So that you can see the grass green on the other side, but you don't know how it really is. Yeah, we understand.
absolutely.
Yeah, we understand. But no, our president needs to wake up to the needs of his people and do the right thing. It's very, very important. Um, I didn't see anything on the sports side. I didn't see anything. Oh,
Oh
well,
no, no, something. Yeah.
okay.
So yesterday, our under 17 team, and by the way, that team plays very well. Uh, if they should stick together for longer, the team would be a great team. Yesterday, they played their first test match in Australia, and they won the game 2-1. Unfortunately, today they played a second test match, and they were whipped mercilessly. I mean, unfortunately, they were beating 6 goals to nothing. But the team has a future. If they continue to invest in the team and keep that group of young people together, I see a potential in that team. I
I,
really
I
hope they
really,
will.
I really believe in the talent of Liberians. As small as a country as we are, I think we are very talented. And once we are supported and facilitated in a way that makes us competitive with other people, we are able to, stand out and be very successful. So hopefully they will do that. I mean, I've seen some of the skills of some of the young kids in Liberia. I'm like, wow, I wish I was as skilled as that when I was young. Because I mean, and then probably the fact that they can watch, you know, international soccer so much more easily than back in the day when only a few people had TVs and you got to go to somebody's window to watch TV before you can, see a star soccer or whatever it used to be called. But now they actually watching live games and they can come right after the game and be able to, demonstrate some of the skills and practice. So they are really, really good. It's just that when they get to that 13, 14-year-old age, maintaining them, keeping them focused, getting them the right level of training, nutrition, and everything like that, is falls by the wayside. And then the little money that comes into the programs, the people at the top start skimming, and it doesn't really get down to the players. So that limits their opportunity to grow as players and as individuals. So, we at a disadvantage. We got to change that. And those are some of the things that will really happen, like Mr. Cummings says in his Changing Heart and Minds, through the arts, through sports, through culture, through religion. Those are all factors that have impact on people, and we have to be able to do that. So thank you. I think this was a very crisp and wonderful show. It was a good comeback from being absent for a little bit. Hopefully,
Yeah.
we'll be opportune to be consistent going forward. But we appreciate those who have stood with us today, and throughout the previous shows, they are there every time to listen to us and stuff. And folks, we are still working on trying to get on the radio in Liberia. So hopefully that will come to fruition by the end of July. We are keeping our fingers crossed that will happen. So Mobat, the closing line is for you.
Well, first of all, I want to say you have to try to get well and get back on your feet, and then allow our viewers the opportunity to be looking at your face.
I know. I'll
Hope
try.
that happens soon. But it's been a good show. We want to thank all of our viewers who follow the show, and your contributions are very important. You make this show worth the while. So we are urging you to keep along with us on this journey. When we get on the radio very soon, it will be good. We can try to enlighten our people more. But changing Liberia is not going to be a day's work. Electing the next president will not change everything immediately, but we seriously need a president who knows what he wants to do and who has the discipline and the understanding to do what he wants to do. He is a president who will be a goal setter and an achiever. And we know of all the major contenders for the presidency at this stage, I mean, no disrespect to all the other people running for president, but Mr. Cummings presents the appealing platform and the ability to be able to achieve goals and do things, the ability to stick to his desires and his objectives. He does not get swayed easily. He stays on the line. He stands up no matter what the challenges are, and sort of he's that kind of leader that we need. The leader who will say you have to change, or I will change you, or you have to do this immediately, and you have someone who will set timetables and everything, not just the kind of president who will wake up tomorrow morning and feel like, oh, let's go dance today, and he go dance. No, I mean, we need someone who is way more determined to change this country and work hard for the Liberian people, a workaholic sort of someone who will work harder than play harder. I mean, Joshua currently plays more than he works, so we need the opposite of that, someone who works more than plays. That's what we need in the presidency. We have an opportunity. There are other Liberians that will work with Mr. Cummings. I always say this, and I want to make it my parting comment. If you have ever been to school before, if you believe in education, if you believe that education has helped you and that we can change this country, we can change this country through education, then we need to elect Mr. Cummings because he represents the good example of people who are educated and who can change this country. Normally, we say, "Oh, what has education done for Liberia? What have educated people done for Liberia?" Mr. Cummings represents an example of what an educated Liberian can do to make our country better. Let us give him the opportunity. So, anyway, let me close there. As you can take over.
Wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate your participation in this. I think you bring a fresh view, and I think people love to hear what you say. So let's keep it going. And again, thank you to the folks for watching. We'll be with you next week. Don't forget, next Wednesday though is Reimagine, Restart, Rebuild Liberia with George Famula. Will be coming on there. Hopefully we'll be looking at the entire healthcare situation and how we can innovate that sector to be able to make a difference for the Liberian people. So take care. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, Mother.
All right. Thank you very much.
Bye bye.